Hassan-Nahoum. She is the former deputy for the mayor of Jerusalem and a special envoy for Israel's foreign ministry. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So Netanyahu, he compared the October 7th attack on Israel to September 11th, saying it was like 20 9/11s in one day. What are your thoughts about that? Because it actually painted a clear picture what Israelis went through on October 7th.
I mean, I would even dare to say it was way worse, because what we had on October 7th was hours and hours of sadistic massacring of women and children. 9/11 was horrible. It was horrible. It was bombs going through the building. These people took glee in hours of torture to women, children, rape. It was absolutely something from 500 years ago, something from the Middle Ages. That's what we experienced on October 7th. And of course, because we're a small country, in terms of the numbers of the people that were killed and tortured and raped and injured, it's numbers that America would never tolerate, sitting by and letting this happen. I think Netanyahu made a very clear case for the fact that we're all facing the same enemy. And the enemy is barbarism. The enemy is Islamic jihadi fundamentalism coming out of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And the Islamic Republic of Iran see Israel as the first stop, but they see America as the ultimate goal. And I think he made that argument very, very powerfully.
I'm so glad you made that point, Fleur, because one of the most powerful moments in the speech is when Netanyahu reminded the people sitting in that joint session, especially the Democrats, that Iran is the home of murderous, homophobic, misogynistic people, right?
Absolutely.
It's a contest between barbarism and modernity. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Please continue. Yeah.
It's exactly what you're saying. It's not just, it's not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash of civilization against barbarism. This is the point he made, and it's a point very well made. And you have to understand that ultimately everything going on in the Middle East right now, and all the problems that are going on in American campuses right now, where your young people, they're not burning the Israeli flag, they're burning the American flag. Why are they burning the American flag? Because this conflict is bigger than Israel-Hamas. This conflict is jihadi fundamentalism funded and sponsored by the Islamic Republic of Iran, by Qatar, against the free world, against the Judeo-Christian values that we all adore. This is what's going on right now. Israel is just a sideshow in a much bigger strategy. And what Netanyahu is trying to do is help the Americans understand this basic fact that we are first, but you're next. And if we don't deal with the head of the snake, Iran, then the Houthis will keep popping up, and Hezbollah will keep popping up, and Hamas will keep popping up. And we're talking about the Middle East today, but we're talking about your college campuses right now as well.
Yes.
The thing is, what do you attribute it to? Because to an ordinary, reasonable person, when you actually look at many of these Arab nations, as Betsy pointed out, women are suppressed, LGBTQ plus community, in many instances, are put to death. But yet, here in America, you can live your life how you choose to. But yet, they burn the American flag and uphold flags of foreign nations that suppress, in many instances, like I mentioned, kill these people that they actually support. So there's a huge contradiction there.
It's a mixture of ignorance, honestly, and indoctrination. That's what it is. In this kind of woke scale of victimhood, right? Which is all it's about. They sanctify this. Woke is a cult. Woke is a fascist cult that doesn't accept anything out of its boundaries. And what are its boundaries? That, that you have the colonialists and the people who were colonized. And like Prime Minister Netanyahu said, these people don't know context, they don't know history, they don't know that the Jewish people and the indigenous people of the land of Israel, you all pray to, the Christian community pray to Jesus. Who was Jesus? A Jew from Nazareth. Nazareth was in the Holy Land, Israel. And so again, it's a mixture of this ignorance and this real indoctrination to make them somehow believe that in their scale of victimhood, the lowest possible person that you could ever feel sorry for is white people and now Jewish people. Why? Because they sanctify failure, and success is something that they vilify. So they're even against minorities in America that succeed. They don't want people to succeed because then they can't feel sorry for you, because then you can't be the oppressed. And this connects beautifully with the Palestinian narrative that have never taken agency for themselves, that have made victimhood into a racket. And this is what's happened with the Palestinian people, supported by the entire world, led by the UN, where there are 5 generations of refugees. Who's 5 generations of refugees? If you look back enough to any Jewish family, we're 2 generations of refugees, but we don't make that our identity. We move on, we work hard, we succeed, and the Palestinians have been brainwashed into believing that they can be victims forever and they can make money out of this victimhood. And this goes beautifully intact with the woke, crazy ideology, fascist ideology.
I'm so glad you attributed these protests largely to, quote, ignorance, because that's exactly what Netanyahu did in Congress yesterday. He said, he pointed to those campus protesters as, quote, useful idiots, tools of Iran. Now, my question to you is, how impactful do you think the speech was?
Look, I think it was extremely impactful because he did a lot of things in this speech, and you've really got to give him credit for this. He's a masterful orator. But he did a few things in this speech. First of all, he made a great argument that our fight is your fight, and your fight is our fight, because we're fighting we're fighting barbarism against civilization. He also spoke about anti-Semitism and how everything you see today is simply another version, an evolution, as we call it, a mutating virus that is anti-Semitism, that has taken different shapes in different generations. And all we're seeing today is a wonderful excuse to hate Jews, but it's the same anti-Semitism. He also pointed out the heroic soldiers that fought on that day, the hostages that came home, the resilience of the state of Israel. And I think what he did very masterfully is he thanked President Biden for all his help to Israel, and yet was defiant about any type of slow rolling out of munitions. And he thanked President Trump for changing the constellation in the Middle East through the Abraham Accords. So I think he walked a very, very careful and very good balance in this speech.
Well, Fleur Hassan-Nahoum, I hope we have you back soon. You're so full of information. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up.